Process of getting to that spot, how does one identify that they're going to be at that? Like, how do you recognize that? You get a resume, you get Matt on a resume, yep. And how you go, he's going to be a sorter. I know it.
Yep. You know what? There are certain degrees of skill within sorting. Generally, when somebody starts, they'll start with some of the basics. Loading and unloading of trucks, trailers, and containers. From there, you'll start to get a sense of how to read labels, how to understand how the process works. Then you start in some of the slower sort positions and then work your way up to some of the main sort roles that can be quite quick and relatively high stress to make sure that error rate is minimal as it needs to be.
So if you don't mind me asking, what's a typical error rate that you'd have on an average of a person?
Like probably one for a few thousand.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they're pretty good at it.
That's really cool. Now, so the life of a person who joins, you said the entry-level person is the guy who sorts the trucks and unloads the trucks is first, and then they work their way up to what's the next position after that, after you are loader on unloader.
So when you're loading, and we'll see this in a few moments, loading is sort of like, we were talking about Tetris.
Yeah.
You're looking at optimizing the cube of an aircraft. In this business, it's uncommon for us to ever weigh out an aircraft. The planes won't go out as heavy as they're able to carry. For us in this type of product, it is almost always by cube.
Yeah.
So optimizing the amount of pieces you can get into a container is very important. Much less so than a trailer, but here, just because of the cost of operating the aircraft, making sure that every piece fits, and we'll see that once we get over there to the other side, it is the additional time to place each piece and to maximize the number of pieces per container.
And for people who don't know that, that's why a certain container costs so much, and the weight is very important when you're paying for it.
Correct.
It's not an arbitrary number, it's because that's how much it costs to be able to put it on the plane, sort it, put it in the right position, and weigh it out. Because if you have a small box that's really heavy, it can throw off the whole process, right?
Correct. So basically, that's the part that humans get to read, and the machine reads the rest. So the most important thing here that everyone's looking in this shift, the airport code, and then once it gets to Calgary, they're looking at this, which tells them the number of the terminal that this is going to. They're looking for the YYC, which is the International Calgary Airport Code.
So chance of human error is low.
That's what he was saying. It was like a very over a couple thousand before you have an error. Yeah. So less than 0.1%, which is.
The sticker would be there before and it would come here on this. So the customer shipping it. How do you guys manually sort it out then?
Right. So once they're back up there doing that, we'll pop up and take a look.
So from here, it's only going to like airports. It's not going direct to consumer or anything from here.
No. So Amazon's done a good job of sort of putting names to how things work. When things are getting picked up at a customer, they call that the first mile. And that is generally your courier who comes to your house, your business, picks up that parcel, takes it back to the local terminal, and from there it goes on to a larger transport truck and goes to a hub. That hub operation they generally call the middle mile, which is all heavy equipment, high volume, places like this. It's the connections between the cities where they call that the middle mile. And then once you're at the destination terminal, you're at the destination city, it's sorted back to the individual delivery vehicles. They make that delivery, they call that the final mile or last mile.
It's interesting because before Amazon, we were moving away from that hub and spoke kind of model. And now with Amazon, we went right back into the old hub and spoke. Let's get back into more hubs, more, get out to the final mile. Because I remember before it was, let's try to get least amount into DCs, less DCs, one major area. But now it's like, no, micro fulfillment, less bigger ones, tiny whole bunch of them.
Being driven by customer demand.
That's right.
It is how close to traditional retail experience can they get?
Exactly.
Has there ever been incidents where let's just say something broke where you couldn't fulfill orders for 2 days or something?
Knock on wood, a mechanical breakdown doesn't happen often, but it does happen from time to time, and everybody is on hand 24/7 to get it back up and running, and we work through that with our customers, and really it's getting back to recovery. So there are contingency plans for contingency plans in this business, that if one facility is affected for whatever reason, we are able to bypass that and mitigate any service impact to the customers.
You're gonna ask something.
I was just thinking, it probably pisses a lot of people off when a truck's late, right? To either load or deliver.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people just standing around them, right?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like if a truck's running late, that really upsets the whole process. That's
Very
why
much so. Yeah.
It's a different perspective.
It very much, everybody is watching the clock. You'll see multiple clocks around as everybody's, and there's a few over on the other side where we're watching that clock, is making sure that things are arriving on time and departing on time. And the departing on time is important, because if we don't depart at a facility either by truck or by plane on time, it's going to impact every downstream operation. So we do whatever we can to make sure that we leave on time. And if something in the middle happens, snowstorm, thunderstorm, mechanical for that matter, we have set that process up as best we're able to make sure it's on time at the departure location, and hopefully we can mitigate any risk if it does impact any weather concerns along the way.
Yeah, I remember when I used to do Purolator and Canada Post, you'd always have like the team, and you'd have the backup team just in case the plane, there's something wrong with the plane, so you can get to the next airport just as quickly.
Correct.
If it was further, we always had backup, and if it was a
Yep.
breakdown, was the breakdown process.
Correct.
It wasn't just a simple, hey, sorry customer, we're gonna wait till
That's
the morning. No, there's
So we
there's
have
contingency.
and when we have, particularly on our key lanes, let's say between Toronto and Montreal, Ontario, Quebec, that 401 corridor has numerous trucks traveling that every night. If there is a breakdown, we have a spare drivers, spare vehicles and everything ready to be able to step in to make sure that those schedules are maintained. When we look at our air carriers, they all have spare aircraft, they have spare crew. In case somebody calls in sick, they've got qualified people who can step in and still operate that aircraft and get it out on time.
I was asking earlier, what kind of type of person does it take to be a sorter up here?
Well, you definitely got to be hardworking. You got to be able to be quick, because you got to read everything very quickly and, get everything going. I don't know, I guess you just got to be working hard the whole time, right? Because it's kind of non-stop now, right?
You enjoy it?
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I think it's a great job. I like geography as well, so it kind of goes hand in hand, right?
That's an actually interesting spin on it. I would never thought about it that way.
Right? Because then I can scope places out. I like to know where places are.
What are you doing right now? Just talk me through it.
So I'm sorting. So this is YQM, so that's going to New Brunswick, Moncton, so that's going to East Coast. And I go Calgary and Edmonton over on that side. Vancouver and everything BC goes that way. Great.
Do your thing. I know it's getting busy. Yeah.
Basically what he's doing is being able to sort three ways. Basically this is doing Western Canada, Central Canada, and if it continues on, it goes to Eastern Canada. And then from here, we'll see it goes further down into a couple of different systems.
So this is Eastern Canada, this belt.
Correct.
That's Western Canada, that belt.
And then Central.
And this is Central. So Eastern Canada being obviously the Maritimes and all that. What, we said Western on this one, right?
Correct.
So,
BC, Alberta.
And Central's Manitoba and Saskatchewan.
Correct.
How about the US stuff?
You know what? It is actually going with the East Coast.
Why does it go with the East Coast?
It goes to a group of containers and it gets segregated again further once it. So this is a rough sort.
Okay.
This is sort of the first cut, and from here it goes down to a finer sort and finer sort.
Right. That's what the people are down there doing, the finer sort. And they're moving at a pretty, like, I can't even imagine what it's like during Christmas time after
Everything's jammed.
it's jammed.
And we use all these lines.
Oh, really?
Right now we're only using 2.
That's right. So do you guys, like, obviously you hire for the Christmas season, and then you, like, seasonal workers like everybody else, and then you obviously keep the best of the best and move on from that.
And now you're getting into obviously greater levels of automation and sophistication, and we have that in our facilities in Montreal and in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And and we're opening. You've seen the announcement. We're opening the new facility, the new Toronto hub, next year.
Yeah.
And again, most of those are substantially automated instead of this manual process that we have today.
I saw the DHL one. I don't know if you saw in Europe. The robots are just running across back and forth and filling and dropping.
Yeah, we're not there. We'll get a general shot of that, but try not to get too many of the numbers that are on there. But this system is our cubing system, which dimensions each of the pieces that are coming through and validates that by scanning the barcode on the box and comparing it to what the customer has declared versus what the true dimensions of the boxes are, and then from there may adjust their billing accordingly. So if you declare a box is 1 foot 12 inches by 12 inches to 12 inches and it's 24 all around, this system will read the barcode, communicate back that the dimensions were incorrect, and adjust your billing for you.
Interesting. How many different lasers and scanners are up there?
Right, it's all that system up there. It's actually all through vision system now.
Okay.
Yeah, so optical, the optical character reading, the dimensioning of the box, rather than the older system that was all lasers, took too much time.
Really?
Yeah, it's much faster to do with cameras.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I'm envious, I'm not gonna lie.
There you go.
You got a pretty cool
everyone
job.
that turns green is one that is red. So you can see when you have a whole series of them all jammed together, the fact that he can determine those are separate boxes.
That's amazing.
That is pretty cool.
How was it when you first started?
Measuring tapes.
Really?
Yeah, people used to measure them manually.
So how long would it take to do a line like this?
You did as many as you could, but it was always a sample. Here now, it's almost every box is done.
Right, so you did the margin of error back in the day.
Correct.
And that's what it was.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right.
You like the planes more than anything?
You know, because it all is so synchronous, it all works together. But really, at the end of the day, we all got to play with toy airplanes when we were kids.
Yeah.
So when you and as a passenger, you really don't get to see the plane, you just get your seat.
That's right.
So this part is a lot of fun. The guys at Cargo Jet know their stuff. They're really great partners. So I'm pretty happy they get to share this with us tonight.
So, is there any informal education that one does to get to this level? Like, what things should someone take in school to get to your level or to do what you do?
So my background is industrial engineering.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. So, a couple of years at Ryerson for Bachelor of Engineering. Started in the engineering department here at Purolator.
We have an engineering department here at Purolator?
Correct. So, again, it's how do you move this much material efficiently to achieve service and benefit the cost side of the equation. So we're always looking for the most efficient way to move product and to be able to do it in such a way that it meets the service commitments. We'll just move a little bit more to this way, guys. So, yeah, no, we employ engineers across the country looking at schedules, looking at methods, looking at equipment, looking at safe work factors to keep everybody safe and healthy.
Yeah.
And that helps us set up the processes and all of the targets of how we do what we do every night. How do we measure ourselves to what we commit to?
It's amazing because most people, at least myself, when they think of engineers, they think of building or construction or whatever. Nobody
Right.
really thinks about the logistical engineer.
Correct, and you're right. You know, it's usually looked at, the movement of goods is always, we're always taught that it's waste.
Yes,
And
thank you.
and then it's like, wait a second, how do we do this? And it's, you know, my counterparts who have a product, and you know what, you have control charts, and when the product, you know, coming out of the machine is too large or too small, you turn a couple of dials, you get it back into process control, and you're good.
Yeah.
We don't have product here. Purolator is a service-driven company. And so when you're trying to design processes and systems to support service, it's a very different approach than when you're looking at building a tangible product,
Yes.
right? So you're looking at how often we get it right. So, you know, you've got to get, everything's got to be 99% on time. And when that fails, then we get into, you know, sort of 5 whys around why did this fail? And you follow each other up to get to the root cause, and then you look at how do we prevent this from happening again?
Right.
And we do that over and over every day, and we've been doing it for 60 years here at Purolator, and we're pretty good at what we do.
Absolutely. Even like some of the things that Purolator does. I know I mentioned to you when I was talking to you about the courier truck that you guys transformed it into a local pickup and delivery spot.
Correct.
Some of that stuff, when I talked to our American counterparts, they said that's an amazing idea. I think Canadian ingenuity, that's one thing that I'd like to touch upon always, is a lot different from a logistical standpoint, because we have to figure out problems differently, because we're not so dense in our population. So we got to figure out a different way to do it. Even like our going out to Newfoundland is a different way of going about it, right?
Matt is here talking to us today about a career in logistics.
Okay.
It's not something we go to school for.
No.
Right? So
I can attest to that.
so maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself, and how did you end up doing what you do in this career?
So for me, I actually started on the ramp at a young age of 20 years old.
So what's the ramp?
The ramp is doing what these guys do out here, driving the tugs, moving the cans around, packing freight.
So that's the funnest job out here.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, without a doubt. Yeah.
Nice.
And just kind of worked my way up from there. Started in the office as customer service agent, and got into the operation side of things, and there we go.
How'd you get into logistics? How'd you pick that after? Because I know for myself, like I was referred to it by somebody said you should look into logistics, and you kind of went, oh, this is kind of different. I never knew about it. Because in school, it's all get a higher education,
Yeah.
do this, you're gonna get your master's, you gotta go work for a big company, blah blah. But this is actually the fun stuff for me is the logistics, the moving, the project, the parcel, the courier, the trucking, the boating, like all that is all interesting and fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, so especially from an operations perspective, you know, shuffling the freight around, you know, it's a giant jigsaw, right? And
Tetris,
it's a
all day long.
network that feeds into itself, and one little part messes up and it has a downward spiral. And so us guys in operations, our job is to mitigate any of the impacts of a downline or I guess an upline issue, right? But yeah, I guess to answer your question, how do you get into logistics? I started loading airplanes. It was
Even that seems impossible now.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to load an airplane tomorrow, but like it's like,
Well, that's when Ron's here to show us a bit of a tour.
Yeah.
And
let's check it out.
Appreciate it.
absolutely,
Thanks
no
for your
worries. Yeah,
Awesome.
no worries.
So how much cargo can you fit on a plane like this?
Well, there's good for 60,000 pounds of cargo, approximately. And then once again, that's based on how far you're flying, because the more further you go, the more fuel you need on board. The fuel's straight off for cargo.
And weight, right?
Yeah. This one here, actually, I don't think it's got the livery on it yet. The tail has been done, but this is the 767. Much larger aircraft. Takes about double of the 57.
Really?
Yeah. That's she's not, like I said, I like the look of the 57, but this is your efficient aircraft right here. This is she'll take double the load. She'll take almost double the containers up top, and this is the only one that takes the belly containers. The
Oh, really?
5.7, the bellies are loose loaded.
Oh,
They
okay.
get thrown in loose packages.
So this is far more efficient when it comes
Absolutely, absolutely.
to. So how much cost savings would a plane like this versus the other one, do you think, bring into a fleet? Millions upon millions.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Over time, absolutely. We're flying way more freight for just a little bit more fuel. The ratio is quite different, right?
So what stage is this plane at right now?
Probably been here all day, and it's just waiting for the cargo to be ready. If I had to guess, I would think this is Moncton and Halifax tonight, or Moncton and St. John's tonight.
Yeah.
And basically, we're waiting for the freight to be ready. When they've got all their stuff ready in here and they're ready to pull it out,
Yeah.
loader will come out. We'll have a loader at each belly, a loader for the main deck, and as the cans are ready, we put them on,
And off we go.
and off we go.
So the pilots aren't in yet. They're just.
No. That's why the aircraft is all buttoned up, secure, and the stairs are pulled away from the aircraft so that nobody can gain access to that. So this one here is, just kind of been sitting for today and waiting to go out tonight.